Hi everyone, good afternoon and welcome. This is day 2 at the Bangalore Literature Festival. We're about to get started with our next session, which is the story of my captivity, survival and freedom. This session promises to be really interesting because it discusses what could be potentially a real life Bollywood story. We have with us some real interesting panelists. To introduce them, we have Hamid Ansari, who is currently part of the visiting faculty at a junior college in Mumbai and is a motivational speaker who is also working on becoming an entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us, Hamid.
Thank you.
We also have Geeta Mohan, who is a journalist covering international relations and diplomacy. She's currently the foreign affairs editor at India Today, TV Today Network. Apart from heading the desk, she also anchors the show World Today. Thanks for joining us, Geeta.
Thank you, Mohan.
And to moderate this session, we have Chandan Gowda, who teaches at Azim Premji University, Bangalore. Besides academic publications, he has translated Kannada fiction and non-fiction into English, including U.R. Ananthamurthy's novella, Bara. He is also a columnist with Deccan Herald. Thanks for joining us, Chandan.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking Hamid Ansari for writing this moving book. It's a book of, that is a chronicle of his struggles inside Pakistan against tough realities of the courts and prisons and the police. It's also a celebration of goodwill across the two countries, India and Pakistan. And it takes us close to institutional realities of a country that we hear about, but don't really get a close-up account of. For all these books, for all these reasons, the book is an absolutely important document of our times. And if we should also thank Geeta Mohan, who's helped Hamid write this. Let me start with a question to Geeta. Geeta, you said the idea for this book emerged from a discussion with Hamid Ansari's parents in a basement of an apartment building in Delhi. So what precisely did they think a book like this would do?
Well, when I met them, and I was meeting them on a very regular basis, every time they'd come to Delhi, or if they were traveling anywhere else where where I was going reporting. I remember going to Amritsar for one of the Indo-Pak events at the Heart of Asia Summit, and Fawzia Ansari and Nihal Ansari were there just to meet Sartaj Aziz Chandan, who was traveling all the way from Pakistan. And despite all the struggle, they tried very hard, but they just couldn't meet because ties between India and Pakistan are such that every event and anything revolving an event to do with India and Pakistan depends on whether the ties are good or not. So Sartaj Aziz could not meet them. They, in fact, couldn't meet Sartaj Aziz. And that's when you realize that the struggle is immense. Fawzia Ansari and her struggle was immense. So when I met her during the final rounds of discussions and the case getting over, and we finally knew that after 3 years, Hamid Ansari would be returning because that was the final verdict, the final decision. Before that, it just did not make sense to really talk about a book, right? So that's when we spoke about the book, and I told Fawzia that the kind of struggle she's had has to be told. It needs to be told because it's something that people across borders should know, that this is how difficult it is to get someone back from a country with whom you do not have good ties. So we had that discussion, but it was at a nascent stage, and I thought I should just tell them. Back then, it was about me writing the book with Hamid. It was about her telling her story, and that's where the entire idea started. It fructified much later when we knew that Hamid was going to cross over.
This question is to both of you, actually. This is a collaboration of memories and writing styles and finding a voice and the narrative structure, etc. It's a complex collaboration. Can you give us a glimpse into how the two of you went about it, Hamid and Geeta, in terms of, to the audience, the parts which Hamid, there are parts where Hamid is giving us his experience in the first person account, and there are parts that are in the third person where we move over to the family side or the others. in the story. It's an interesting narrative structure. Actually, yeah, could you please elaborate on this?
Hamid, would you want to go?
Yeah, it all started like Geeta ji has said that she was already in contact with my parents. And when I was in the Pakistan prison, the idea already struck me, like my lawyer counsel who were visiting me, they told me that it will be very nice that I start writing a book or like start jotting down whatever is happening with me. And then later on, it can be converted into a book. So the idea was very nice for me. And it was also a time thing, a thing that used to keep me occupied inside the jail premises because there was nothing much to do over there. And when I came back, so Geeta ji actually told me that we can start with the book and this will be a very good book. So I straight away agreed and we both started on it. But what happened is that during this entire journey, for me, it was like I had to relive all the parts that I had already experienced over there. So it was quite tough for me. But at the same time, I was also not aware about what was happening over here with my family, from the government side, from the media's contribution. So later on, like through the book, also through the journey of writing the book, conversation with my family. So that's when I came to know how the media and how Geeta ji and how the government they were struggling for my repatriation on the Indian soil while I was struggling over there. So I contributed on that part, and Geeta ji has contributed what was happening over here.
Yeah, just adding to that, Chandan, it's interesting that you talk about the construct because you're right. When we talk about books and when the kind of books that we've read, this is a very different construct. And why is it so? Because when I started conversations with Hamid, there were conversations about whether the book should be completely in third person and I should go about doing it completely, or whether if he should. So a story will not strike at the heart of someone if it is not told in first person and the person does not say what he experienced. Also, the story of Fawzia Ansari, Zina Shehzadi Chandan, the kind of work she did in Pakistan, Hamid would not be sitting here, at least not at such a young age, where he has his whole life ahead of him, if not for Zinat Shehzadi, a journalist in Pakistan. So those needed to be narrated in the manner in which they really happened. So for me, the biggest challenge was the time lapse because there are the chapters that are narrated in first person by Hamid, and then to put them in the right time, the timing and the years to have them in place so that people are not confused and there's not too much of to and fro, going back and coming to the present. So that was the biggest challenge for me. So I spent nights trying to get the timelines in order. The timelines were really of the essence over here because we needed to, our readers need to understand what was happening with Hamid and simultaneously what was Fawzia Ansari, her family, doing, what was Zina Shehzadi doing, and then later on when the lawyers came in and the missions came in, what did they start doing? So there was this whole simultaneous way of narration, and that narrative had to be handled very carefully. That was the biggest challenge for me.
Thank you. For those of you who have not seen the book or know anything about it, it begins with Hamid meeting a girl from Pakistan online. She's from the Pashtun tribe. She's a student of B.Ed. Her father's a revenue officer. And he falls in love with her. And when he hears that she's been punished by her community court to marry someone from a family whose young one has been killed by her brother to protect his father's honor, he decides to go to Pakistan and rescue her. So, and this is how the book begins. A question for Hamid, tell us about your resolve to, rescue her. I mean, what did you think you could do?
Chandan, first of all, I would like to clarify that I was not in love with her. It was not a love relationship. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's all started like we were just pen pals. We interacted on the internet. And
While Hamid joins us again, a quick question to Geeta. Geeta, did you have any models in mind when you're trying to, do this memoirish, documentary-ish book? Were there any, literary references or someone who you had in mind as being in dialogue with, as being in company with?
Well, not in terms of particular persons or people, but because Chandan, I have followed India Pakistan very closely. So this is not the first case for me to be handling somebody who is stuck on the other side of the border, be it in India or in Pakistan. So there were many reference points. But I keep saying this, the only reason why this case had become very different, Hamid is back. We can go back to him, but I'll just make a quick point. Why this story is very different from the others is because it's a success story. That in itself made the entire story very different. With India and Pakistan, this is a miracle story. For someone to be coming back at the age of 32 is a tall ask. And that's what's happened in Hamid's case. So he is lucky in so many ways. I can't spell it out. There are so many things that could have happened to Hamid, even if he was not caught by the authorities in that Taliban infested Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area. So he was lucky on so many counts, and that's why his story is very different. But there are references in how the system fights such cases, how consular access is sought a zillion times. And I know that for so many cases that I've handled in the past as well. So those are the reference points, but then the story is absolutely different in how it was handled. And I keep saying this, Chandan, it wouldn't have happened if not for a very aware person such as Fawzia Ansari, his mother, and Zeenat Shehzadi on the other side, Rakshanda, Qazi Anwar Saab on the Pakistan side. But you have to be aware of your rights to be able to fight the system, not just in India, in Pakistan, Afghanistan, to fight for your son to return home. And that's what Professor Fawzia Ansari did.
Hamid, we have you back now. Please
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Actually, the monsoon is back in Mumbai. It's raining, and maybe that's why I'm facing intermittent signal. Anyway, I'm sorry. So what I was saying is that when I came to know that this girl is in some problem, so definitely I wanted to help her in any possible way. And through my friends on the social media, on the networking sites, and through NGOs, I wanted to help her out. But even I was not sure what was the exact problem that she was facing. So when there was no communication with her, but a curiosity obviously was within me to find out what was happening and what is the easiest way or the most effective way that I can help her out. And the thing that was pushing me to help her was that she has said that she has no other way but to commit suicide if there's no solution. So it was on me that if I did not want to live with a guilt that had I taken a strong step to help a friend, she would have been alive. So to come out of that mental situation, I wanted to help her out. And my friends in Pakistan, the so-called friends, I would say, they instigated me. They told me that तुम Indians क्या कर सकते हो? तुम लोग खाली बातें करते हो. तुम लोग में हिम्मत नहीं होती है. किसी की जान जा रही है. So that was like a more push for me at that age, 6 years back. And then I had this thing in my mind that as an Indian, I want to prove it to a Pakistani that what we are capable of. And I will do anything and everything to save my friend from that grave situation and help her out in any possible way. So, I took an immature step, definitely, but it was more of a push rather than, I would say that, uh, how do I say it? It was not like I did not know what to do. It was that we had the friends, we all had decided, okay, fine, we'll go to the jirga, talk to them, and find another way and get this girl out. And then there are NGOs over there, the Rotary Club, the UN. So she can be shifted for temporarily in any other place till the matter gets solved. And then the things can go back to normal. So that was the original plan. It would have taken approximately 1 day or 2 days, but there was something else going behind my back, which I was not aware of, and then finally it fell on my head.
Thank you for that context, Hamid. So even the Greater Kashmir newspaper headline was wrong then. The headline was "Another cross-border love story turns tragic."
Uh,
Anyway,
I would say that I was not here to know what was happening.
no, I'm just
Right.
sharing this with the audience.
Right, right.
Hamid, you spent 3.5 years in solitary confinement in a
Yes,
prison cell which was 20 feet below
yes,
the ground level,
yes.
and you describe in great detail the hardship that you had to endure. Um, I was wondering, did that experience alone, and of course the subsequent experience in in the civil prison in Peshawar, uh, did this or has this made you look at life differently?
Definitely, it has changed me a lot. Uh, during the 6 years in the solitary confinement, where we could not even see when is it daylight, what are birds, what is the sky. Everything was completely alien to us. Like whoever was in that prison. So you know, living every day with a new hope that maybe tomorrow I will see a better day. So that uh, keeping the hope alive, that has built up in me to a very great extent. And secondly, along with keeping a positive hope, I have also developed this thing of being patient, because I have seen many, many, many inmates who were getting restless, and then ultimately they lost their mental balance. So I had decided that whatever time it takes, I want to go back home and you know serve my parents for whatever wrong I have done. I want to compensate for it. So to go back in the same condition, I need to focus and I need to keep myself in that state. So it was a struggle on an everyday basis, and that has changed me a lot.
Hamid, in your introduction, there's a sentence that you say you heard often from Pakistani authorities, and I uh, quote that sentence.
Yeah.
Um, we know you're innocent, but your only crime is that you're an Indian Muslim. And Indian Muslims are a bigger threat to us because Muslims blend into our culture and we cannot identify them easily, unquote. And you go on to say, I heard these words from many Pakistani authorities, and that's why I wanted to tell the world my side of the story. What precisely was the threat? I mean, can you unpack the sense of threat that they saw in you?
Uh, for them, every Indian is a spy, and especially if like a case for like my case, a person crossing over the border without any traveling documents. So definitely they took it as a case of Indian espionage. But identifying whether the person is a true spy or whether the person is innocent, so that becomes a task for any agency in any country. But what they told me, or even the civilians in the civil prison or any other authority, they told me that because I was a Muslim, I could blend in them, in their culture, in their environment very easily. So cross questioning me, I was it was easier for me to answer their question. So that is what they took it, that it was easier for me to blend in them, and it was difficult for them to identify me. So this is the threat they had: how to identify whether I was truly a spy or whether I was an innocent. But obviously, I would say that even if you go to a railway station, so a ticket checker, he can easily identify a person is without ticket or whether he is a culprit or something. So if the ticket checker can identify a person at a railway station, the intelligence agencies and the agents, I would say, or the people of the authorities of the uniform, they can easily identify who is a spy or who is a culprit, who is not. So it was more of my nationality. They took it as a crime against me, because even when the court martial started, so in the book, when you read the chapters of the court martial, they clearly told me that the crime that you had committed of illegal border crossing, we have waived it off for you. We are not trying you on that. You will not be punished on that, but you will be punished for something that you have not done. So I was being punished only because all false charges were being put on me only because I was an Indian.
Hamid, you mentioned that your views of Pakistan changed after your time there, and you mentioned you hadn't realized to what extent the Sunni Shia difference mattered there. A Shia prisoner meant a
Yes.
terrible fate. But what other perceptions of Pakistan went a transformation through your time there?
Uh, See, I would not want to generalize everyone on this. Uh, I would like to say that they were prisoners uh, inside the this thing. Let's say solitary confinement or the civil prison. and they were quite helpful, quite nice to me. They took me as only a prisoner. Some took me only as a human under trial. Some took me as a person traveling from a long distance and does not have any support on that land. So they had their soft corners towards me. So at the same time, there were people who even tried to kill me. They poisoned me. They attacked me. The Pakistani authorities, they charged me for on false charges. They tried to punish me. They kept me hidden for so many years, even when they knew that I was not a spy and I was not culprit of anything. So there are like ups and downs on both the sides. So the things that changed my mind or my perception towards them is that what a general view that we see on the internet is a negative view for the country. But when I went there, when I experienced the civilians over there were people who loved Indians. There are civilians in Pakistan who say that we love Sachin Tendulkar, we love Virat Kohli. They have given their salam. They told me that whenever you go back, convey a salam to Mona Singh, to Virat Kohli,
Yes.
and there were some people who were a part of the merchant navy who had visited Indian ports some years back in the 1980s. So even they said that whenever you go back to India, hamara salam kehna Hindustan ko. So there were people who loved my country. So I cannot have a negative feeling or a negative thought process to a person who loves my country. Or any Indian will never hate a person who loves India. So this entirely changed my perception.
Again, for the audience, three people mattered enormously in securing the release of Hamid Ansari, and Geeta has already mentioned Zeenat Shehzadi's name, who was a journalist, who was the first, to call Hamid's mother and see what she could do to help here. And then you have the advocate Qazi Anwar, and then another advocate who comes and joins this struggle, Rukshananda Naz. I would like Hamid to share a little bit about the importance and the significance of these three individuals in securing your release and in keeping your hopes up.
Okay, Zeenat Shehzadi, like I never got to meet her or interact with her since when I was in solitary confinement, all the good work that she did was already done, and then when I was shifted to the civil prison, she was abducted. So I never get to interact with her. But through Geeta ji, through my mom, I get to know that the biggest task of finding me out present on Pakistani soil was done by Zeenat, because till that point, Pakistani authorities were blankly denying that I was present on Pakistani land.
Yes.
They even denied the United Nations, and I do not want to get into the technicalities that they violated the Geneva Convention, they violated their own law of the land. But even on grounds of ethics, they knew I was there, and they knew that my mother or the authorities or the judiciary system of Pakistan was searching for me. But yet they did not disclose me. And Zenat was the one who found the proof, and she brought the proofs in front of the court that Hamid is present. Now you have to accept. So had she not done this thing, the agencies would have clearly, they could have done anything, because they told me that we can kill you, we can throw your body in the jungle and animals will eat it. Who will know that you are in Pakistan? So Zenat was the one who made their task impossible. And I really thank our hats off to her. And as far as Qazi Saab and Rakshanda Madam is concerned, so Qazi Saab, he came to meet me in Peshawar prison and in Mardan prison twice. And he is so senior that whoever was handling my case, let's say the Supreme or the High Court judges or the jail superintendent, they all were his students. So he had that authoritative command that whatever he said had to be done. Obviously within the framework of the laws, but there were times when I was under attack in the civil prison in Peshawar and in Mardan. And when Qazi Saab came to know about it, he immediately called up the superintendent and said that he is a prisoner in your custody and his safety is your biggest responsibility. So even a phone call of Qazi Saab was sufficient to keep me safe over there. So Qazi Saab had his biggest role in keeping me alive and getting me back. But at the same time, a prison is a place where anyone would feel very lonely. And I would see that since I was kept with the condemned prisoners in the death rows. So every Thursday, their relatives would come and meet them. But there was no one to come and meet me. So these were the things that, really pushed me back, that I do not have anyone over there. And that emptiness, Rakshanda madam filled it up. She used to meet me every month, and she used to get me loads of stuff like juice, cakes, biscuits, something to cheer me up. And that gave me a lot of hope that even on this foreign land, even among these foreigners to me, who were no one to me, they were no relative, but yet humanity existed, and they were the one who told me that no matter what, we will get you out. And when such strong words, such promising words came from authoritative people, I started feeling that no, one day I will definitely go back home, and they made it possible.
Thank you. Hamid, when you reunite with your parents at the end, you say there was a sense of a heavenly feeling about the place where you met them. And by that time, the reader isn't surprised to hear you say that, because you've been very open and comfortable about discussing that you're a devout Muslim, and I was actually very touched by that. Each time you did that, and you note how the prison authorities were un-Islamic. They didn't observe the rites that were considered to be important for if you're a believing Muslim. And there's this great moment when your parents are on pilgrimage to Mecca, and your mother has pleaded with Allah, and soon after she comes away, your father is holding a cell phone saying that Zinat is on the. He doesn't know it's Zinat, but there's someone
Yes,
from
yes,
Pakistan to reach
yes,
us, and she's the angel of hope, to use your phrase from that chapter. And then many times, it comes up, and I'm just wondering if you have reflected on the role of your faith in the way you've been able to endure the difficulties of prison life, and more generally in your life itself, because it's an important feature of your narrative, and which I welcomed very much, because more often than not, most people try to bracket that off as private, and not bring it in in such a in such a in it's a seamless sort of presence, and I which I cherished very much reading. But I just wanted to know how you.
yeah. Definitely, I would like to thank first and foremost to Almighty Allah for all the help, because getting in connection with the right people, sending the right people for our help, even that was a divine help. Like you mentioned, the chapter where my mom goes to Makkah. So there, when she was praying, the call of Zenat Shehzadi, that call, like sending Zenat for the help. And actually, Zenat was the one who got me out. So during the book, you can see that Zenat was the one who found my evidences in Pakistan. So she became the savior. So who sent Zenat? Even when I was in the solitary confinement, there were instances when I used to I used to get very disappointed. I started banging my head on the wall. My head started bleeding, or the authorities tortured me to their limit. But there was something that kept me pushing. And one fine day, during one of the interrogation or the torture sessions, I even reverted back to the authority that, sir, I'm still alive. Where are you going? So it was God. It was the divine help that kept me alive, even in those situations, and kept me sane. I was mentally sound. And even in the solitary confinement, I used to pray continuously. And in my prayers, I used to say that if I am to go back, give me a sign, in any form. And when I used to finish my prayers, there used to be an officer standing at the cell gate, and he used to tell me that, okay, fine, your file has moved ahead to the following officer, and you have got a clearance from the following department. So some or the other good news used to come whenever I used to pray to Almighty that, okay, fine, give me some hint, some signal that I will be going home. And the prayer used to get answered that then and there itself. So this kept increasing my faith, and also the hope at the same time. And even when I was shifted to the civil prison, when people tried to attack me, when people tried to kill me, I was poisoned in the night, and at approximately, like, it was midnight when I started bleeding. Uh, uh, so even in that grave situation, there was one old man who was awake, because in February, March in Peshawar is very cold. So people are normally in their blankets. But there was some divine help that this old man was awake and he got sought help and he got me admitted in the hospital. So that is the reason why I'm still alive. So a divine help was continuously through me. uh, Qazi Saab, who fought the case pro bono, he did not charge anything. Whereas there were many people who duped my family members. They took lakhs of rupees but did not do anything. Uh, Getting the right help from the Indian government, getting the news moving ahead with the help of media, connecting with the right people. I repeat it. So all this was moving ahead in the right direction only because of the divine help. So this thing, it will be injustice if this thing would have been left apart.
I mean, it's amply clear that your mother played an important role. We see her calling
Indeed,
people.
indeed.
Uh, so if you could just say a little bit about her involvement in this, for those who have read the book, and also what are your father and your brother doing all this while? Because we don't hear about their efforts as
Yes.
much.
See, I would say that my mom, she was a lecturer of Hindi subject, and she was not so tech savvy. But when I was missing, so you can say maa ki mamta. So that was the driving force for her. She learned the entire computer system, how to use the internet, how to use the Facebook, Google, sending emails, receiving, taking printouts. She was not aware of any of these things. But then she learned everything. She managed everything. She compiled everything. She sorted everything together. And today I would say that she knows how to use a touch phone better than me. So, that starting from scratch and reaching the top, she traveled that journey on the technical side, meeting the right people. She did not leave any door unattended, or she did not leave any door unknocked. She went to any person she felt that, okay, fine, this person might help me, or this person might lead me to someone who would be helpful. Be it in India, be it in Mumbai, be it in New Delhi, be it in Pakistan, be it in Afghanistan, she never left any stone unturned. She did a fabulous job, and no matter how much I praise her, it will be very less. So I always thank my mom, and throughout this journey, my mom was never left alone, because my mom and my dad both are working parents, and it was not possible for both the parents to take leave every alternate day from their offices and pursue my case. So what my parents decided is that my dad would continue with his office to support the family, and my mom would continue with the struggle of getting me back. And obviously, like, holding them together, because one son was missing. So the other son played the important role of holding them together and did not let them fall apart. So this was all going. My brother made a very big sacrifice for me, that he was about to get married the very next month, that is December 2012. But he gave up his marriage and he said that I will not get married until my brother returns. It's a very big sacrifice, and I cannot repay back any one of them. At the most, I can just pray to Almighty that they get the best in this world and the world to come after. And the, you know, spending every single day seeing my mom, yet she is very much worried about me, my future, my rehabilitation. So she is still, that you are still a baby for me. The same mom continues.
What's happened to Fiza? Fiza, by the way, the pseudonym, the girl who he initially contacted and then tried to rescue.
Okay, when I was in the solitary confinement, or rather, I would say when I was arrested, within the 2 or 3 days, the ISI guys, they told me that they had gone to Fiza, and they confirmed that, that they met her, and she has given a statement in a statement in my favor, because of which my innocence was started. My case started to go in a direction where I was getting proved innocent. However, they did not accept it anyway. Uh, Later on, when I was shifted to the civil prison, and I met Rakshanda madam, I met Kazi Saab. So they told me that even they met Fiza, and Fiza was happily married, and she was like, my main motive was that she stays alive, and she does not fall victim to the Vani custom, and my purpose got solved. So she did not fall victim to the Vani custom. She's happily married to someone else, and she's very happy. That's all I came to know. Apart from that, I did not get to contact her. I did not get to meet her, talk to her. And even after my repatriation, I did not even attempt to even ask her where she is or even try to communicate to her in any way.
A question to both of you before I turn to the audience for their questions. How has the book been received in Pakistan and in India? And has there anything about the reception that you've been pleased about and unhappy about? Anything else you want to share?
Geeta ji, would you like to take it ahead?
Well, it has not been received as such in Pakistan, Chandan, because this book, in all probability, might not be reaching unless and until people actually physically buy the copy and take it along with them, would not be reaching Pakistan anytime soon. But there are certain journalists and including the legal counsels who we shared the copies with. So the ones who've read the soft copies of the book are very, very well received, has been well received here in India as well, because it's quite nuanced in the way in which not just the case is handled, but how India Pakistan relations really take an entire case to a different level altogether. So, to understand all of that, yes, a lot of inputs and feedback from all quarters, not just in India, but abroad as well, because there are many who've been interested in reading and trying to find out, those who are part of the foreign policy circuit. So well received on that front as well, at least on my front. Hamid?
Yes, within my circle, because I am not like, after my repatriation, I do not have such a vast network as Geeta ji has. But yet, from the bunch full of friends that I have, everyone has appreciated, everyone has praised it. I even get messages from my friends or like some unknown people that they are saying that when we are reading the book, we find it very difficult to leave the book, and it is like just gripping. And they even say that when they narrate it to their parents or to some other one, there are even instances when they found themselves crying about the story. So it is so emotional and so touching, and that makes me feel that the book is so successful that the reader is able to connect to the characters. So that I take it as a very positive response from anyone.
Thank you very much for engaging the questions until now. I will just turn to the audience.
Well, thank you very much. I think that was a lovely and inspiring true story, I must say. And I've just come back from Dubai and relocated in Bangalore. And like what Hamid rightly said, when you do rub shoulders with various nationalities, including people from Pakistan, they're not so bad, but you have the other side to it. My question to you is, I don't want you to go back, but nevertheless, it would be very informative with people who have problems, who are living here on a day-to-day basis, not in solitary confinement, but different kind of stresses. What was your thoughts day one? You were going into solitary confinement. You were there, and as you were coming out, because it's the kind of a graph that goes around there. So, in a very quick, if you can just give us an idea, so that we go into solitary confinement, living in this world, but we don't realize it. So that's what I meant to ask you. If you can just throw some light on that, it would really be encouraging for everybody.
Uh, it was like, thank you so much for your kind words that you wanted to share. Uh, as far as solitary confinement is concerned, if I want to describe it, the best way I can describe it or give a related example is the lockdown that we faced for the past 8 months. So, it was like we were forced to stay within a confinement, and we were not allowed to travel, or we were not allowed to go anywhere. So it was similar, obviously on a very large scale, what I faced. But the solitary confinement, I would say, is that initially I was very much depressed because I was told that at least for 35 years I will be there, or maybe death penalty. So, from what was happening in that situation, I was sure that I would never go back home. But like I said, there were divine powers, divine help. So I started getting messages, started getting indications that one day I will be going home. So the graph of the hope, it started increasing, and it did turn out to be true, because from the solitary confinement where I could not see the sky, I did not know when is it day, when is it night. After 3 years, no doubt, but yet I saw the sky, I saw what are trees, what are birds. It was in the form of a civil prison, but yet that civil prison was a freedom for me from the solitary confinement. solitary confinement was like a hell, I would say, underground, and now I was over on the ground level. So I thought to myself that if God took me out from the solitary confinement to a ground level, He is the one who will get me out from the prison to a free life. So the graph kept on increasing. It is only that you have to keep the faith. That's all I would say. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Hamid.
Hi.
Alaikum.
Hi.
This is Dr. Farah. I wanted to ask you, what was that one thing that helped you hold on to your sanity? Because living without sunlight, what did you just mark on the wall, or was it tasbih, or was it just the 5 regular namaz? What was it? How did you hold on to sanity and not make imaginary friends and imaginary characters?
Uh, okay, that's a thing that would take me back, but that's okay.
Oh,
Uh, I did not know when it was day or when it was night. We would get the wardens or the santris. They used to tell us, okay, fine, it is time for prayers. If you want to pray, you can pray. But obviously, they were not all. Like majority of them were not humble to me. So I knew that the only help or the only friend in that place was God to me. So I used to turn back to Allah, and with the hope and with the surety that He will answer me, no matter who doesn't answer me, but at least Allah will answer me. So uh, within that frame, not knowing where is west, where is the direction for Kaaba, like you already know. To all my viewers and all my listeners, I would say that we Muslims pray in the direction of the Kaaba, which is towards Saudi Arabia. For India, it becomes the west. So in the solitary confinement, we were not even told where is the west, where is the east. So uh, assuming or just keeping in our mind that hoping that we are facing the right direction, I started praying and keeping my sanity. That helped a lot in keeping my sanity. Also, when I was not praying, when I used to, because obviously it's either praying or either thinking about what's happening with my case. Are they trying to frame me, or will they punish me? Will they kill me? So these were the things that were going on, and like I said, that I was continuously praying. So even if you read the Quran, in the Quran it is rightly said that life and death is in the hands of the Almighty, not in the hands of humans. So these things motivated me, and apart from these, I wanted to keep myself in a situation that no matter what, I have to fight whatever was happening to me. So in my own space, I used to find for some or the other light moments that would happen. So for example, if the whenever we used to go to the washroom, so we used to just find soaps, because we were not given any soap over there for a bath or anything. So it finding a soap was very difficult over there. But when people were cribbing that there's no hygiene, there's no this, there's no that, I took it as a treasure hunt. Okay, fine, soap is a treasure for us. So I took it in a very sporting way. I started playing over there. The authorities were not aware of it, but for me, finding a soap in that vicinity. So these were the things that pushed me, that okay, fine, if they are being nasty with you, try to be nasty with them also. Let's see what happens. At times they used to catch me, they used to beat me, but yet they used to also tell me कि अपनी जबान पे काबू रखो, तुम्हारी जबान हमें गोली की तरह चुभती है. Oh, is it? My words are pinching you, so I'll speak more. So these were the things. Okay, fine. Now is the time that I have to pay back. So when I had that attitude in me, so then it started moving ahead. That no, fine, do not give up. Even they are human. They cannot harm you until Almighty wants you to be harmed.
it was basically your taqwa that just kept you safe.
Yes, Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you again, Hamid and Geeta, for gifting us this lovely book.
You're welcome, Chandan.
I hope it will find new readers, and your struggles will continue to instruct and yeah, I mean, it's an extraordinary uh, uh, a picture of our times. So I think it's a valuable chronicle, and I thank you again, and Geeta, for writing this down, and thank you for the Bangalore Lit Fest for having a session on this book. Thank you for the audience.
Yeah.
For staying with us patiently.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to everybody, all the panelists and speakers. We really appreciate it.